All right, today we're tackling a bit of a paradox. How is it that in a country of 1.4 times billion people, the silence on huge issues can be, well, deafening? We're going to dig into the roots of what many people just call Indian apathy.
You hear it all the time, right? With a population this big, why does it so often feel like there's this collective shrug when it comes to major social problems? So let's really unpack that, because the answer, well, it's not simple at all.
Okay, so where do we even start? Well, the first layer we got to peel back is the most immediate one. The simple, grinding pressure of just getting through the day.
Okay, just look at this list. This isn't just a list, it's the reality for millions every single day. I mean, really think about it. The cost of everything is going up, your commute is 2 hours each way, you're constantly worried about your job and taking care of your family. When your brain is completely jammed with all that, how much mental energy do you honestly have left for bigger societal issues? It's not that people are bad or don't care, it's just survival. You're just trying to cope. And then, on top of all that personal stuff, you've got this constant social overload. Living in a country this huge, you're just constantly bombarded with problems. You see poverty, pollution, all sorts of daily civic issues. It's just everywhere. And you know what the human brain does to protect itself? It starts to normalize it. It has to. So it's not really a lack of caring. It's more like a desensitization that comes from being exposed to it all the time. So picture this. You're exhausted, you're overwhelmed, and reality feels like this giant, unmovable thing. What do? You look for an escape, right? And that's exactly why things like cinema, cricket, and just scrolling through social media are so huge. It's not just about having fun. It's a genuine relief, a way to switch off from a reality you feel you can't change.
So, okay, daily life trains your battery. But what happens when you do find a spare moment to look up from your own life and face the system itself? Well, that brings us to point number 2, the absolutely crushing weight of a broken system. This quote, wow. I mean, this just says it all, doesn't it? What's the point? This is a feeling that millions of people have. It's this deep, deep sense of why bother that's been built up over decades of dealing with systems that just feel like they aren't built for the average person.
And you know, there's actually a psychological term for this. It's called learned helplessness. Basically, after years and years of seeing corruption, dealing with snail-paced bureaucracy, and hearing politicians break their promises over and over again, you start to believe that nothing you do will ever make a difference. And when you believe that, you stop trying. Silence doesn't just become an option, it starts to feel like the only logical choice. And this feeling of helplessness, it's fed by this massive distrust in the very institutions that are supposed to be there for you. I mean, think about it. If you genuinely believe the police won't act, the courts will take 20 years, and politicians just don't care, why on earth would you even bother to engage with that system?
But wait, it gets even deeper. It's not just about feeling like it's pointless, it's also about fear. Speaking up can have very real, very scary consequences for your job, for your family, even for your own safety. So when everything feels so unpredictable, just staying neutral and keeping quiet, well, that starts to look like the smartest and safest way to survive.
Okay, so we've got the daily grind and a broken system, but there's a third layer here, and it's much, much deeper. It's the cultural conditioning, the stuff we're taught for generations, which is basically to adjust, not to confront.
How many of us grew up hearing things like "chalta hai," it's okay, let it be, or don't get involved, mind your own business? These aren't just empty phrases. They're powerful social lessons that basically teach you to accept things as they are. They teach you to keep your head down, prioritize your own peace and quiet, and whatever you do, don't rock the boat.
So what you end up with is this really clear trade-off. On one hand, society puts a huge value on personal stability and keeping things harmonious. But the price for that harmony is often discouraging the very thing you need for change: public confrontation, making a fuss, disrupting the status quo.
And this whole thing gets even more complicated because of how identity works in India. So often, people feel a much stronger connection to their immediate group, their caste, their class, their region, than to some bigger national identity. And what that does is it can weaken that sense of shared responsibility. A problem that's happening to another group, it can easily start to feel like, well, that's not my problem.
Okay, so after all that, the daily grind, the broken system, the cultural conditioning, it would be so easy to just conclude that, yep, India is an apathetic nation. But that's where this whole story takes a really sharp turn.
Because that silence we've been talking about, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. The idea that everyone is apathetic, that's just not the whole story. Not even close.
Let's flip the coin for a second. This is also a nation of activists. We're talking about some of the most massive, passionate protest movements you'll see anywhere in the world. You've got incredibly powerful student movements, fierce RTI and environmental fighters who risk everything, tons of grassroots community volunteers, and some truly world-class NGOs doing amazing work. The activism is absolutely there, and believe me, it is powerful.
And this is so important. It brings us to the real key here. The apathy we see isn't some inherent part of the national character. It's situational. People aren't born apathetic. They become silent or selective about when they speak up because of their specific situation, their fears, and just how much energy they have left in the tank.
Okay, so let's tie all of this together. It's time for the final diagnosis, the thing that reframes this entire conversation.
So next time you see what looks like apathy, ask yourself, what am I really seeing? Chances are, you're seeing people who are just plain exhausted from trying to survive. You're seeing people who've been taught their whole lives to just adjust. People who are genuinely afraid of what might happen if they speak out. And people who are just completely overwhelmed by it all.
And if there is one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. We tend to think that apathy is the cause of social problems, but the real diagnosis is the complete opposite. Apathy isn't the cause, it's the symptom. It's the symptom of huge, deep-rooted problems, a broken system, psychological burnout, and the intense pressure of just trying to get by.
And so that leaves us with a final, and I think a much more useful question. If we stop pointing fingers at individuals for being apathetic, and instead start looking at the actual root causes, the exhaustion, the fear, the broken systems, then the question becomes, what does it take to treat the disease, not just the symptom? What does it actually take to build a society where speaking up feels not just possible, but safe, and actually worth it?